All right, it's a beautiful fall day. So let's do some questions. All right, so let's start off with a live stream critique. I don't even like calling it that. Like some things that I think you can work on. Okay, so first, Aussie, I believe is your name. First, like I said on one of these, I think it was last week. I just love how engaged your congregation is. I think that's amazing. Everyone's so in it. I love it. That's so good. Man, your team is worshiping, your people's worshiping. So on that note, I mean, the rest of this is just, adding a few percent on top. Y'all are doing your job well. To me, the fact that people are engaging in this way is y'all are already doing good. So, if I were to give you a few cliff notes, just quick, bullet points that I think you can take a look at. It sounds like somewhere, I don't know what your setup is, but it sounds like somewhere in your signal flow, whether it is on your console, whether it is in your video encoding software, whatever you're using, however you're getting your live stream here, it sounds to me like it might be a little too loud somewhere, like it's hitting a limiter. I believe it sounds to me like you're hitting a ceiling somewhere. So whenever the kick drum or the acoustic, kind of strums a little bit too hard, to me it sounds like it's causing the mix to duck a little bit. Does that make sense? A brick wall limiter where basically your signal, imagine it moves up and there's a limiter and it hits that signal, it can't go above it. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing. So the mix is kind of pumping a little bit, overly compressed. So maybe check your signal flow and see if there is a point in there that it's hitting a limiter or something a little bit too loud. And then I think that'll solve some of your problems. I think that will help the acoustic be a little bit smoother, things like that. So I feel like these are these next few things are what I say on everything. I don't know if you're using room mics. If you have a channel or just one would make a difference. But if you have two, I would say add some room mics so that you can get that crowd interaction, so you can get the ambience and the feel of being in the room. And if you already have those in there and I'm just not noticing it, maybe turn those up some. And then I think that you could be a little bit more, you could give a little bit more on the effects. Don't go crazy. I don't think you need a ton, but I think if you had just, I don't know what your effects are running for in the house, but if you just sent a little bit of those or even gave a little bit more effects to the live stream mix, I think that could help add a little bit more life to it. So where are we at? So you have, watch your signal if it's too loud so you're not hitting the limiter or compressing too much. I think that'll solve the drums, the drum, bass, and acoustic pumping sound. If you have some room mics you can add or turn up, I'd say give those a little bit more. Effects, just a little bit more overall is fine. And then now there's this here is more personal preference. A lot of times in church mixes, I feel like I hear vocal mixes being everyone's sort of even. Personally, I like it where your background vocals are ducked a little bit more and they almost add, yes, you hear them, yes, you hear the harmonies and those things, but I don't like them being so loud in a mix. So even leaving your vocal mix the way it is, at the level that everyone is, I think you could take, if you have a lead singer, someone in particular that you want to focus on, I'd say bring them up just a few dB. I'm not even telling you turn everyone else down. Maybe just turn, if you have a leader, turn them up a little bit. But seeing your setup here, it seems to me everyone's just kind of leading together, which is totally cool. So that may just be a style thing. And then, once you get into preaching and ministry things, I think you could just turn those mics up a little bit. You could exaggerate them some on the live stream, and that's a common issue, especially, on Facebook streaming and things like that, that you're gonna deal with some dynamics issues. So I'd say just you could turn your speakers up some, like your the people ministering. And I just have to throw it out there, like, as a compliment. Like, I don't know what language you're speaking here, but it's so cool, like, so beautiful sounding. Like, I feel like, yeah, it's so much cooler than mine. So yeah, good job. Like, I think you're doing great. Those are just a few things I noticed, kind of going through your service here. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, and we have another question that comes from an anonymous user, basically asking about how on the X32 you can essentially sort of double patch channels on your config tab, where you can change the source of a channel. So say you're on channel 1, I don't have my board ready to go right now, but say you're on channel 1 and you're plugged into another XLR input. You can then change the source of channel fader 1 to that other XLR input. So the question was, it's a really good question, was why can you not control those independently? So say I have channel 1 that is being sourced from channel 4. Now you don't really have independent control over 4 and 1. And that, by my understanding of the X32, is because you are essentially sharing the gain stage of those of that one XLR input. So that's the basic idea, is that even if you source channel 1 from XLR input 4, you're going to be tied to the input, the gain, like the actual, hard patch of channel 4 for channel 1. I hope that makes sense. But that's just a limitation of the X32 by my understanding. Okay, and so we had another, this is more of a comment rather than a question, but I thought was definitely worth bringing up in this video. I really liked this, actually. So basically, I don't know your name here, but the problem is the X32 doesn't have enough time-based effect slots. Waiting impatiently for the wing rack in 2024. So we were talking the other day with the company that did our install at my church. We moved about a year ago into a new building. It's an amazing facility and everything. And so we're using the wing for front of house, and we're using a M32R for Livestream. So basically the X32, But man, just the other day I was on the phone with the owner of the company talking about some other issues, and he brought up the wing rack potentially coming out next year or whenever it is. And he was... we were talking about how much better that setup will be for us, because right now our routing is just all over the place. It's super confusing. It's fine and it's working well for us, but it's really convoluted at this point to make all those things talk, because we're running more channels on the wing than we have the capability of running on the M32, and so we're doing some different user, settings, routing going into the M32 that's then patched onto the aux channel, so we get some more. It's overkill, but it's also kind of a brain twister or whatever, especially if it's early on a Sunday morning and I have an issue. So yeah, I'm totally with you. The wing rack is going to be awesome. Like, I love the wing so far. I'm going to do a full review of it. I'm a big fan, and I say that we've had plenty of issues with it, and ongoing issues that maybe Behringer will solve soon. I don't know, but we've had plenty of issues, and it's still one of my favorite consoles I've used. But yeah, you want to talk about having different effects on there, for the bass and different tone preferences, hall, short delay, basically the limitations of the effects on the X32. And I'm with you, I get it. What you're describing here, it sounds to me like you're looking for that extra 10% on top of a good mix. So, I'm with you. I mean, I preach all day that if you can't make... in reality, if you can't make a good mix with one effects, then something may be missing. Then is it going to be the best it can be? Absolutely not. But if your bass line is there, you can get a solid mix with one effects, but I like a lot of effects. So I'm with you. Like, yeah, it is limited, and you definitely can feel it if you really want to start branching out on some things. That's probably been my favorite thing about the wings so far, is that I have double the effects. And like, maybe a little irresponsibly, I've already filled up all of them. But it's fun. Alright, so Natty MC asks, how am I able to basically replay my tracks like they're live? So let me turn you around real quick. Okay, so I'm going to do a more like actual video on this, but quickly I just want to show you. So what I've got here, it's a little bit of a weird setup, but it works for just repeatability, and it's really ugly right now. It's super messy around here, I'm sorry. But this works for my videos. So what I do is I record my tracks live at church, and I do that by having my, I'm looking at the screen, I'm reading this through the screen, sorry. I run my card out to, there, basically the channels here will output from the USB out, and I run that into my computer using Reaper. So that's how I record them. I'm going to do an actual detailed video on that, but that's the idea of getting the tracks. So now when I bring it back to the house, I have my inputs. I will change my inputs to card 1 through 32. And then in my card setup, I have it 32 in, 32 out on the setup tab, and then the card, 32 in, 32 out. So then, now this is where it gets a little bit weird. I have my main output set up like usual, and I have it coming out from my local outputs. Where am I at here? I'm sorry. Let me find my... Yeah, so I have my outputs 7 and 8. Well, actually, I have a weird video set up. Sorry. So then, for my actual master fader, I have that coming out outputs 7 and 8 on the board. Now, then I run out of the board my regular master into my interface, right? It's a little weird, that I also have plugged up to my computer. So I have my X32 running Reaper that runs out into my other interface, and then this interface comes back into my computer and feeds just a left, right, and GarageBand. So, like, that is my usual setup, and let me just be the first to say, I absolutely know there's a better way of doing it, but that gets the job done, and I'm able to like quickly come plug things up and not worry about some complicated internal routing on the X32. So it works for me. It's definitely not the best way, and I acknowledge that, but it works, and the quality is good, and yeah, it's fine. So I've also had some people ask me about the multi-tracks for my videos, for like, practice on and things like that. Let me just say, I do have some things coming up, so subscribe, do all the good stuff, I've got some stuff that will be, I think, really helpful for you guys to help your live streams, your front of house. I'm working on a lot behind the scenes, and it's going to be good, so bear with me. Yeah, as usual, drop comments below the video, download one of my free guides, and email me with your response, like ask a question, shoot me your live streams, I'll react to them. Yeah, that's it. So see you guys in the next one.